Supergirl Season 2, Episode 21, Resist. Of course, this is the episode leading up to our big season finale, and I think it was a pretty good episode. We got a lot of cool things. Cat Grant returned. She instantly knew that Jimmy was the one behind the Guardian outfit, which I thought was hilarious. It was one of those things that where she's like, I can see your eyes behind, the little slit, and I thought, that's super freaking funny. I never even thought of that as an issue because, granted, you can see someone's eyes. You aren't really focused on that too much, but they were, it's Cat Grant. It makes sense for her character to get that, but that was a funny moment to me. But she makes a return. The president is outed as an alien, so I thought that was good because I was waiting for how that was going to play out and what the case was really going to be. Like, is she really going to be a villain? Is she actually still going to be a hero? And it turns out she was an alien. She just hid it because, of course, people would have freaked out. So that's pretty much it. We get a little bit of backstory on her character, and that kind of allows for us to understand her devotion to kind of attacking, because her people didn't actually do anything. And they also mentioned the invaders, which I thought was cool. So her people were controlled after, doing nothing, so she didn't want to make the same mistake on Earth. And I thought that was pretty cool. We get a little bit of backstory for her, and it sets up her drive throughout the episode, where it's like, as much as I don't want, Kara to lose people that she cares about, I can't, I can't let the city fall, because of course that'll just spread to, the rest of the planet as the Daxamites try to take over. So I thought that was a really cool way to do that. And, the reveal is to all the characters, a little backstory, and then set up for her drive and, why she's so focused on ignoring basically like how the other characters feel. Because it's like, I've seen an entire planet, have this happen before, and I just can't let it happen here despite some innocent sacrifices. So, the few versus the many, that sort of thing. So I really enjoyed that. It was a very simple way to do it. Of course we have Mon-El and Leena on the ship. We have the, our typical, this was our moment where, pretty much every show has this, but it's the villain and the hero team up to take on another villain, enemy sort of deal. And they did it in a pretty interesting way because, of course, it went through its normal processes in the beginning where it's like, okay, I am the villain, you guys are the heroes, we gotta team up, but we don't trust you because you're the villain, and then all other options have failed. So alright, come on, you're the villain, we have to work together. The thing that surprised me at the end is that they still managed to find a way to betray her because they still had control over the teleportation device, the Phantom Zone projector. So I was like, alright. Admittedly, I didn't see that coming because they were so close behind them, I didn't think they would be able to teleport away fast enough to actually leave them on the ship. So that kind of surprised me that it was really instantaneous, where it was just like, alright, we're in the spot, boom, they're gone. They didn't even have time to like catch up to them, but ultimately it didn't make much of a difference because Kara had a backup plan with Wynn, so she's able to send Mon-El down to the planet, and she tries still to go talk with Rhea, which I thought was very interesting. And they have a few moments where characters try to talk to her. When Cat Grant kind of reintroduces herself, she has kind of her cool speech in the beginning, which I thought was pretty funny. Some of the stuff was funny, but ultimately it was a nice speech. And Rhea was like, meh, she didn't really fall for that. She was like, whatever, like I'm the only queen here, so I'm taking over. And it just didn't work, and that's when, of course, the ship started to get attacked, the Air Force One. So people were trying to talk to her. Leena was trying to fight against her, and then it's like, yeah, but you have this hospital, and there are other hospitals that your family doesn't own. I can kill all these kids. So, of course, that's how she gets Leena. And Mon-El is like, there's no point in me trying. He even says, like, this is insane for me to even try, but can you not do this and, not be so insane? Rhea does admit to actually killing her husband. I knew that had to come out in some way, but I was like, man, if they defeat her, what's going to happen? So she does end up saying it to Kara at the end of this episode. So I was like, alright, when we get to the finale and they actually, of course they're going to end up defeating her, but when we get through all of that, she'll have that truth, and I don't know if she'll hide it from him, or hide it from Mon-El, or how that's going to play out, but I would assume that she'll end up telling the truth. But I think they did some good stuff with the pairings for the characters. Like I said, they had the stuff with the villain. I still don't remember this woman's name. All I think is she's, the head of Cadmus, and then she's with the actual Hank Henshaw. But I can never remember her actual name for some reason. But she goes in, she saves her daughter, and it was a very interesting moment because when Leena first sees this, it's like, you came, like with her, like you actually teamed up with an alien to come save me. It's like, yeah. And then, of course, it all falls apart because it's like, I saved you. And, and she even said, which blew my mind, but she even was talking to Leena where it was like, I thought you'd see my side of things now. Like, you got kidnapped by an alien. All aliens should die. And I'm like, that's what she thought her daughter was going to think after being kidnapped once. Like, she was kidnapped by her own mother. She doesn't hate all humans. It was like, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But for whatever reason, she was like, I thought you'd, finally see my side on things. So, of course, she's kind of the helpful mother. She went to save her own daughter. And then instantly it was like, screw all aliens, you guys gotta go. So I was like, alright, well, that was faster than I expected. I figured it would happen, but I admittedly thought maybe it'll happen in the finale, because they'll defeat them in the next episode and then they can become villains again. But it was like, nope, we got the canon. I'm just going to tell your sister to basically kill you all. So, very interesting how that ended up playing out. And of course, like I said, we get to the ending and Rhea and Leena are together, or Rhea and Kara are together. And Rhea admits that she killed her husband, and then it gets to the point where she's like, I know you think you won, but not just yet. And so, of course, we have Alex who's waiting to set off this device where it's like, I don't want to kill my sister because it's my sister. And then she doesn't have an option because we see a heat blast hit this thing. And I was like, okay, that's Superman. Obviously. It's very obvious that that's Superman. They referenced that he was somewhere doing something. I wasn't even paying attention because I'm like, it's just some excuse for him not to be there. So I was like, I won't even bother rewinding. But they said something about why he wasn't there, why they couldn't help him, or he couldn't help them in the beginning. And then turns out that he's under Rhea's control. So we don't really know how that happened. We'll have to get the explanation in the next episode. But it was a great way to end this one off. Leading into the finale, we have Superman coming back. I didn't expect it to be this way because I mentioned, I think it was in my last review, that I'd heard he was coming back. So it's actually a really cool way to do it where he comes back under the villain control. And so now Kara has to take him on. And in the promo, it seems like she has to fight him, and then towards the end of the episode, she also still has to fight Rhea. So should be an interesting episode with a lot of crazy fights going on. But I thought this was a pretty good one leading up to the finale. We got to see a lot of characters make returns. We got to see some revelations in there. So it was nice, and I'm excited to see where they're headed in the future. I don't know if Cat Grant is going to permanently be back in town, and she'll be back to running her company in the next season. But I really like what they did with this episode. We got some pretty decent action. The beginning of the episode was pretty nuts with Rhea acting like everything was cool. It's like, don't freak out. And it would go from her saying, like, don't freak out, to the very next scene will be someone just being, like, blasted in the back and murdered on the street. I'm like, this is very odd. It's like, it's like that weird sort of control where it's like, don't freak out. It's like she's trying to brainwash people in the moment of chaos. And it made for an interesting opening because there's just people being killed like all over the place, and you just see her face show up. Like, she's on the ship at first, and then she's on TVs, and she's on the phone, which is a really great shot. They have the phone, and it's like next to a dead body, and you just see like a shoe, it's someone's foot. For some reason, that really got me. I was like, that's actually a really interesting scene where it's just, you just see like a foot. It's just a dead body next to just this phone that's playing this video. It's supposed to be very calming. And something about that, it was like that one shot, for some reason, really stood out to me amongst everything else with all these people being attacked. Something about that just stood out to me. I don't know why. But it was a really interesting opening, and I think in general this was a pretty good episode. The main base ends up being attacked. People get killed also. Now everyone's at the dive bar. And it was kind of cool. It was like a little resistance thing, and now they have to deal with, Rhea and Superman as villains. So I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do with the finale and just how everything's supposed to play out. And they also reference a little bit when Kara talks to Leena's mom, where it's like, you never told her the truth. And she references the fact that, of course, you hiding that from her is going to make her hate you. So I don't know if that's foreshadowing for the finale, or if that's, because I think we all knew that was going to happen at some point. But the fact that they brought it up and how things are so chaotic, I think would be the perfect time to kind of end things off in the finale, where that's where, Leena ends up finding out, and we get to see like her initial reaction to, what she thinks about that. Because it's always hard to say. It's like, she has certain ideas that Kara doesn't agree with, like when she first showed up with the alien registry thing, like, everyone should know who's an alien and who's not. And it was sort of like that fear concept where it's like, well, does it really matter if you can't tell to begin with? It's that sort of thing. So it will be interesting to see. And like I said, I don't know if that's foreshadowing for season 3 or if it's foreshadowing because they are going to decide to do that in the finale. But I'd like to see that in the finale because I am very curious how they would write her character, because she is in such a middle ground where it's like, I don't think she'd freak out too much. but it's hard to say if they'd still have the same relationship. I don't think it would be like, oh, okay, no big deal. I think it would have some effect on her, and maybe it would take some time, but I don't think it would be like a permanent thing, you know, Lex Luthor sort of deal where it's like, you lied to me forever, and plus that's that's a much longer relationship between Clark and Lex, but it was just interesting that they officially brought that up with a woman who could easily tell Leena, like, this is exactly who Supergirl is. So I feel like that may have been foreshadowing for the finale, and even if it's not, we know it's foreshadowing for somewhere down the line, but I'd love to see that as a part of the finale as well, just to add a little bit. It wouldn't really add tension, I guess. It would depend if Leena just went full evil, then I guess it would, but that wouldn't really make sense for her character. But either way, I'm looking forward to the finale, of course. We'd love to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, and these favorite parts were. And naturally, with the finale, I just want to know what you guys want to see. Of course, what your theories are. How is Kara going to end up defeating Superman? How are things going to play out with Rhea? Like, are they going to end up killing Rhea at the end of this, or are they just going to defeat her and lock her up? There's so many elements to it. You know, of course, that's Mon-El's mother and him learning the truth. So I feel like there are a ton of elements that are going to be put into this finale that I'm really excited for. But we'd love to know what you guys just want to see in general. And like I said, I would love to know your theories. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.